and we are live on YouTube and also on Twitter.
Sweet.
So, this podcast is the first time me and Andy are doing this. We're doing podcast name Make Ship Happen, and I think the first thing we want to talk about is Larkon, because a lot have happened there, and I think the first person to ask is the person who has been at Larkon. So,
Yep.
I'll hand it over to you, Andy.
Yeah. Laracon was a blast as always. It was nice. Uh, the venue, like in previous years, the stage has been very like not overdone, but like extra. And this year, it was a little bit more back to basics, and it felt really like coming home. And I feel like that's kind of been the vibe, especially with Twitter, Taylor on Twitter lately too. But it's nice to like see everybody. It's nice to watch talks and see what's new in Laravel and stuff. And I think this year, unlike a lot of past years, Taylor's talk, I was like, I can use everything next week. And it was exciting to be like, I can use this. I can use this. Um, and I think my like Joe Tannenbaum obviously did a really great job with his reverb demo, and it was crazy and insane. And I don't love watching people panic on stage, but he handled it like a pro. And then Matt Stafford gave a great like edge of understanding AI talk where it was basically like use AI to learn new things, but do your best to try and keep it close to the things that you already understand. And then if you get too deep and you don't know where you are anymore, ask the AI to make you a curriculum to so you understand the technologies that you're using now, which is really
With
cool.
with reverb, I think that must be a nightmare to do on stage.
Yeah,
So I do wonder how Joe has managed to make that work on stage without
yeah,
any issues. Maybe we should try to get him on the podcast at some point and
yeah,
see all
yeah.
the juicy details about how he managed to make that talk work so
So
well.
he did publish the code for it, and he did do a geolocation fence. So like if you wanted to participate, you had to be in Boston or like around the venue. But even then, the first couple slides, folks were spamming the emojis and it just like blew up the screen. And Joe just like kind of froze for a second and was like, oh crap, is this gonna work? And everything worked beautifully. I mean, at least from my like perspective. Uh, and
Those
like
always
he,
those
but
stuff.
it's like, oh, I think the also the entire audience kind of was like, "Oh no, we don't want to break it for Joe," which is
Mm.
also sweet. Where like you don't want to break it for somebody else.
I remember last year when I was at Labo Live Denmark, there was a
Hmm.
blender talk where someone had like a blender blending different things, and you can basically click on a website, and if enough people clicked, I think it was, it would blend something.
That's so
That was a
cool.
really interesting one as well. I really like those interactive
Uh huh.
talks. Those are just the best,
Yeah,
in my
they're
view.
really fun because it also like it gives you you're not looking at the code, but it still gives you a hands-on kind of feel for what the person is talking about, which was
Mm.
in this case reverb and I guess vaguely cloud. But it was just really cool like to see practical demos of how things can work, but
Mm.
also in an interactive audience setting. Because like I think most like reverb demos tend to be like a chat app, which is like two or three people. But this had like 600 active people in the audience, which is just crazy.
Yeah, and if that was set up with Lava Cloud, the bill for that would also been a little bit higher than expected. I guess it's like
Yeah.
I think I don't the okay price, but it's not the
Hmm.
cheapest WebSocket solution out there.
Yeah.
Um, which I guess kind of um brings me over to another thing about WebSockets in general. just want to give a quick shout out to Ashley who made Vask.dev, which is a really, really brilliant tool you can use.
Hmm.
And by the way, he's not sponsoring this podcast in any way, but go check that out as well if you want to use something which relies on Cloud First Network.
Yeah. I want to play with that. It looks really cool.
Mm, it
I
works
haven't
really
had a chance
fast.
yet. Yeah. Um, I think also like prom was cool. It was fun to see everybody like dressed up.
Is,
Um,
is that the first time they've done that at
yeah.
Lavo, I think, isn't it?
Yeah. So the past 2 years, there's been a mostly technical pre-party. And last year it was at a rooftop bar. And then this year they rented a high school gym so that we could do dodgeball in the afternoon and then prom in the evening. And it wasn't at all like my prom, but it was definitely like a stereotypical 80s prom, or it kind of
Mm.
looked like if you've seen the Stranger Things episode in season 4 where like or in where they're in junior high and they have the like winter dance. It was kind of that vibe.
I have only watched one or two episodes of Stranger Things. I've actually
It's
gotten
a good
anywhere to season
show.
four.
It's so
But
good.
yeah, That's-
Um,
and Dodgeball as well. I think I saw that on
yeah.
Twitter. That's was something I like. I was really jealous when I saw that, and I was like, I really wanted to be in Larkin this year. That would have
You
been
wanted to
so
play
fun.
dodgeball? You couldn't pay
I
me to
used
play
to I used
dodgeball.
to do that a lot in school. I was the only
Oh,
sport I was good at. I think.
then you should talk to Len cuz Len um like is really into dodgeball apparently, and that's how he met his wife. I learned that at prom, which is
I
really cool.
haven't
Um,
played it in like 15 years, but yeah, I used to be good at it in school, and I think that's the one sport I actually
yeah.
am good at, except for maybe cycling.
Yeah. I liked that the dodgeball was like inclusive cuz like last year they did golf, but it was like for certain folks. And then like the year before they did basketball and the teams again were made up of like certain folks and like everybody in the community could go watch, but not everybody in the community could go participate. And so I liked that this event in dodgeball was like everybody could do it
Mm,
and you didn't have to be somebody who knew somebody.
yeah, I think um, to be fair, it must also be hard with such a big conference to
Oh yeah.
organize an event like that. That works for everyone.
Oh yeah.
Even if they probably want to, but something like that would probably be easier with something like Lava Live
Hmm.
than Lava UK to organize.
Yeah.
It's probably a bit fewer participants, even though there is quite a few at both of them.
Hmm.
So yeah, but yeah, what else happened at Larkon?
Um, let's see. The day one after party was a blast. It was nice to like see every. It was this outdoor venue, and it kind of felt like a camp. And there were skewers, and it was really yummy. And then day three, Titan in Geocodio had ice cream truck, and it rained all day Wednesday, so it was a little weird having an ice cream truck. But we pulled the ice cream truck under the tent, and then it was
Hmm.
really yummy. It was really good. And then day
Yeah,
three was the vibes.
yeah. How was the vibes? I think it sounded like such a cool event, and I would love to be in there as well.
Yeah, the vibes was really cool. It was fun to see a whole bunch of folks who like were really into native PHP, and then some like Laravel community members who like hadn't really played with it at all, and so it was a fun like collection of people. And then the first like hour and a half was Simon and Shane demoing things that are new in like Bifrost and in V4, and including a dog Tinder app, which Shane demoed, and then um, later on, John gave a lightning talk about Tesseract, which is this awesome application that he made that they hope to have ready for Laravel Live Denmark. That's when they're hoping to release it. And it was basically a all-in-one running and testing tool to like help you debug your native applications, and it was really really cool. Um, and
One thing
then
I
yeah,
think that would be two things I think that would be cool on native PHP to make it more reliable as a way to ship mobile
mm-hmm,
software. Either a Sentry or a Lava Nightwatch integration.
mm-hmm, yeah,
So you can figure out why things crash. That's
mm-hmm,
been one of the concerns I've had with releasing anything with it.
yeah,
And with native PHP as well, I found it to be really, really useful to build things with.
mm-hmm,
I still need to get the pull request through for the widgets. It's quite an
mm-hmm,
extensive one, but
yeah,
once that's done, I have a widget plugin that comes out, which
nice,
will then be available as well that people can utilize.
mm-hmm,
And I think that would be a really cool way to also be able to use native PHP. There's so many things
mm-hmm,
in it now when it
yeah,
having super native. So for those of you who may not have used native PHP for the past 6 to 12 months and may have seen some talks about it a year ago or something like that, back then it used to use a web view. Nowadays it utilizes Swift and Kotlin to Jetpack Compose to essentially add in the components natively.
mm-hmm,
And you have a blade syntax like language where you can just go ahead and do things there. And then there's
yeah,
Tailwind sort of built into it, but it's not Tailwind, but it kind of is Tailwind, vibe-wise, is at least Tailwind.
yeah,
And you have everything from liquid glass to being able to just have components easily built, such as text input and so on. It just
yeah,
works really well. And you can build pretty much anything with it. Um, React Native also nowadays has something to build native components with, but I feel like a lot of people don't end up doing that. So
mm-hmm,
I guess you have like ways where you can either build custom or non-custom components that's either fully native or kind of drawn on the screen. I think it is. I'm not too into how native React
yeah,
Native does it, but there's definitely some interesting approaches going on there, and I
yeah,
think it kind of has only got one other downside, and that is even though they did make it better,
mm-hmm,
the ability to open the app and it opening quickly can still be a bit slow. But that's because it
yeah,
has to boot up a Lava application, it has to run any new migrations and so on.
mm-hmm, yeah.
And let me see,
Nuno
we got
popped in.
Nuno on the stream
Yeah,
on
hi Nuno.
YouTube.
Yeah, I think apps with like the native components will compile and feel native, and like that's really really hard to do in the web view. Um, and I like that like Shane and Simon have spent time making the developer experience feel more like things we're already used to. So like even though it's not actually using Tailwind, it feels like Tailwind. And so you can use all of the things that you're used to using and they'll just work. Um, that's really nice and really cool.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And I'm really looking forward to kind of getting my native PHP courses out. One of
Yeah.
them, which is a nightmare to do because getting markdown rendering and AI to work together in native PHP is a whole different thing to figure out. Getting one thing is markdown rendering just being there, sitting there, and you don't actually stream it. And another thing is getting data streaming to work from a provider. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing a beginner course and a ChatGPT course, and
Nice.
the ChatGPT course is quite awkward because there's a lot of components into it that you need to make
Mm-hmm.
sure works well. WebSockets and or data streaming needs to
Yeah.
be working, and you need to have
Mm-hmm.
markdown rendering. There's all sort of complications doing
Yeah.
that. It's not just like building a note taking app. There's other things in a note taking app, but with this, there's so many different services you have to rely on,
Mm-hmm.
and then you test it, and then sometimes there's an outage at one platform. You have to make
Yeah.
sure it works well there. So there's a lot of
I mean,
convoluted
building
things
anything.
there.
Building anything, you're going to come into those problems. But I feel like in these days, it's like, oh, let's expand what we're comfortable with and so it feels fun and exciting to like learn new technologies in ways that I never would have bothered before. Um, but yeah.
Mm. And
Um,
yeah, outside of that, with native PHP, I think now is really just seeing the ecosystem grow and seeing
mhm.
what plugins come out. I
Yeah.
think that's really the main things that now is there,
Mhm.
and I don't think anyone has yet to publish any plugin for in-app purchases and subscriptions there, or any sort of thing.
No. I
To my
know
knowledge,
Zach Heiler made a charting plugin and a health kit, or I don't know the Android equivalent, but a plugin for that as well, which is really cool and something that I've wanted. But yeah, in app purchases, I can't remember if there's a plugin for that
I
yet.
know
Not.
someone may have, I know someone may have been working on it from what I've heard, but
Mm-hmm.
I can't go into detail on that, and I don't know if that's your only private, so I don't know if
Yeah.
that's actually something we should be
Mm-hmm.
expecting yet. But it's
Yeah.
not difficult to do, from my understanding. It's just my experience is that it's actually difficult to test, and
Yeah.
that is React Native, not
Yeah.
for and that's the first time user
Mm-hmm.
without using Revenue Cat or anything like that. But for React Native, it's difficult to test, and I think
Yeah.
that probably will be the hardest part as well if you want to build something like this. Is you want to make sure you get that absolutely right. You
Mm-hmm.
can't just go ahead and build a in-app purchases system with subscriptions and that, and vibe coded without knowing that it works well. Because
Yeah.
with other things, maybe you can do a bit more vibe coding in that. Because if it breaks, it breaks, but it at least doesn't destroy a revenue stream, or causes sort of issues
How
like
is
that.
money? It's money and time zones. Money and time zones are like the hardest things, which is so annoying.
Yeah,
Um, but um, I think like day one, Shane and Simon asked me to do a lightning talk, and so my lightning talk was mostly like polling the room and asking them for feedback on what native PHP should focus on next. And like the overwhelming majority of folks said documentation and starter kits and like just education in general, um, which I think will help a lot of folks who are new to mobile development but have Laravel experience really get going,
yeah,
um,
and
which I'm looking forward to working on.
I think it's interesting, but it's also really easy to go ahead and build something now.
Hmm.
It's easier. I personally struggled a bit with computer performance, trying to have AI
Hmm.
work or something, and that before May, because my laptop was thermal throttling because it had not been cleaned for 5 years. So basically, the battery was dying, and I
Hmm.
got it replaced. Uh, and it cost like £250 or something like that.
You.
But replace the battery, and they clean it internally, and it looks like a new
Yeah.
MacBook, just a new keyboard and everything, because you have to replace all of those components.
Yep.
But essentially, that made testing even worse on mobile, and I think that kind of slowed me down a lot over five
Hmm.
months of trying to build things on a native PHP and also React Native and other mobile apps. And now I
Hmm.
think it's just so much easier. I was worried I had to buy a new MacBook, and I was realizing, okay, probably wait a year or two more, but I may still need more RAM by then, given how AI
Yeah.
is going.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you want to segment into our last topic
Yeah.
about AI, GPT
Uh,
5.6 more specifically,
yeah.
because I don't
You've been
think.
having fun with it. I want to
Oh,
hear what
yeah.
all
Um,
your GPT experiences and stuff because they're
um,
crazy.
I think the first thing I was doing, I was for the hackathon with that was at
Mm.
Labo. I built an application. I don't know if I'm continuing with it or not. It's not that
Hmm.
much use. I'm not sure what I'm doing with it yet. But I built an application where you would be able to get information like a feed about what's going on in Labo and so
Okay.
on web, and it uses AI to also just sort of scrape and link to the relevant sources.
Okay.
And I didn't give it any key or anything like that to access the internet. I didn't give it any API key. What it did was I just told it to build this thing. I said, "You have my Lava Cloud CLI tool you can use." It went and built it, which is fine. That's to be expected with AI to
Yeah.
build a small social media thing in Lava. That should be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Then it went ahead and grabbed the API keys from a different application without asking for my permission and added it into the application and just did it without telling me about it. I then confronted it a lot later about it. It was so far ahead that it lost the memory in the context window. But what it did was that it used the application, the Codex application, and used JSON to basically search through the chat history, and it found it and figured out what was going on. And it was saying, "I'm sorry about this. I apologize. I shouldn't have gone that far ahead to do that and just go into one of your other applications to copy the API keys and then add it into another application." So that
I
was
mean,
one thing it did, and I think
yeah.
that was I. It also deployed everything, set up the DNS and everything using
Mm-hmm.
computer skills. I did
Okay.
nothing. I did nothing to set up the application. I just had to change one single thing in the configuration, and that was it. Because there was some
Mm-hmm.
small um, mistake it made there, which I'm not sure if it's like in the CI tool or if it's just it misunderstood where the DNS was, but it
Okay.
made everything else work perfectly fine, and it
Okay.
just set up the whole application. It also subsequently used Livewire to manipulate the native PHP website to submit a plugin. It turned out that you were working on this plugin as well at the native PHP team, so it's not going to become anything. But it submitted the plugin for approval, did everything in that process, and used just the console to manipulate Livewire state, I think it was, or something like that, to essentially submit the plugin because it couldn't get the drop down to work because it was a
Wow.
custom drop down component. So it was just basically, okay, how can I do this without input? And
It just
that's
feels
just
like a rogue
some of it.
16-year-old super smart kid that's just like,
Yeah.
I'm going to do it and be super gung ho about it, which
And
is both really cool and really terrifying.
but also at the same time, it's not for human, you'll just click on the drop down and search.
Right.
On that end, it's just I think it's lack of computer skill is lacking a
Mm-hmm.
little bit there, I guess, with some components maybe. I can understand that though it's about dumb manipulation. Um, but yeah, I have more to share. But what about your
Yeah.
experiences with it?
I think, yeah. I think GPT is really good, and I have been. It has basically replaced Claude for me. I'll still use Claude occasionally, but like, I think Codex is my main driver now, and I think like I am still somebody who reads every line of code and like is a little bit OCD about my code. Sorry, not sorry. Um, and so there's some things where it'll do things and I'm like, that's not what I wanted, or that's not how I would have done it.
Mm,
But I don't have the foresight to like tell it not to do that because I'm a very like as I go programmer,
yeah.
and like learn things as I go. So I've been in with AI in general, just struggling to like figure out how much or how little to prompt. But I still think the output of GPT 5.6 and like Soul has been remarkably better than the output I was seeing before and the output I was seeing in Opus, and like is comparable to Fable, but doesn't cost an arm and a leg.
So how would you rate 5.6 as a developer? Would you consider it a junior, mid-level, or senior, or dev lead, or something like that? Where would you rate 5.6?
I think it is like good. So I'd say like somewhere in between mid and junior,
Mm,
maybe just mid, but I think the style of code that it comes out with is very uh, architect astronaut y, and I am not an over architecting type of person. Like I'm definitely a Yagni until proven otherwise.
mm.
And I feel like Codex and Claude and LLMs in general have good insights into like, oh well, this could happen, and I'm like, yeah, it could happen, but like, what's the likelihood that it's going to happen? But then also at the same time, like, you've got hacks that these models are doing, so like maybe it makes sense to be a little more like buttoned up in these days.
Yeah.
Um, what did you think
Well,
about that hack? Or what
yeah.
were you going to say?
So with the hack from GPT 5.6, just like I guess Fable also escaped the sandbox environment
Yeah.
and ended up emailing someone. This time, it instead of that, to prove how to do well on a benchmark, it hacked
Mhm.
Hugging Face to get the relevant data. I know this story probably has been out a bit and people know about this, but I could definitely see why um, GPT 5.6, maybe 6, and I guess both of them. I'm not sure which one obviously
Mhm.
did it. That's a bit unknown. I can see why it would do it if that's what to expect in GPT
Mhm.
6, because yeah, the computer skill usage is quite crazy.
Yeah.
I also am currently building a video editor and a
Mhm.
screen recording tool together. And when I am building that, it's been doing really well with testing things, and I'm adding all sort of features into it, which I will go into
Yeah.
more details at a later stage. But with the screen recording feature, it will just record without you asking about it. It will just click the record button with the webcam on. I don't entirely know why. I don't know if it's because I just say go
Go
ahead and
do it.
build it, and it just thinks,
Yeah.
okay, that's permission to test it as well, and I'll just
Mhm.
record. That's fine. But yeah, I'm like, maybe that part of testing would be better to just leave to the humans because I can actually test it with the audio and maybe add some
Yeah.
transcriptions feature and see if that works well
Mhm.
instead of having it tested there itself, because I can kind of test it in a nicer way and a bit more
Yeah.
aesthetically pleasing way. So yeah, GPT 5.6 is quite good at computer skills, and it's also really good at just exploring. I ended up changing my Codex app from full access to auto review because I
Mhm.
am now not sure if I trust it with 100% access to my
Yeah.
computer. I had no problem with earlier models
Yeah.
at all before doing anything anywhere near as crazy. And
Mhm.
this model is just like, it will just explore and it will just aim to achieve its aim.
Mhm.
It does not stop. I mean, it is obviously restricted to the sense that, unlike when it hacked Hugging Face, that's because it was a bit more of an unrestricted environment and it had a bit
Right.
more freedom, but it wasn't supposed to have internet access, so that's different. It won't go
Mhm.
ahead and hack something. It will still have guardrails up, but
Mhm.
it is still very, very explorative, and it is just
Yeah.
like giving a 16-year-old computer genius who may not be aware of all the consequences, but
Yeah.
access to a computer.
It Have you seen the movie War Games? It's an old 80s Matthew Broderick film.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Well, you should watch it. And anybody listening or watching should watch it. It's basically Matthew Broderick accidentally hacks into NORAD, which is a U.S. Uh, nuclear base that had nuclear weapons and accidentally convinces the AI in the computer to play a war game that the government actually thinks is really happening. Um, so it's a interesting like parallel to like these days where like, oh, we have a super smart computer that's escaping a sandbox, and like in the
Yeah,
movie the computer like tries to steal stuff, and it's like, this is crazy. Um,
yeah.
so it's fun to see the parallels between
Mm.
like an 80s film and now.
I honestly wouldn't mind if they waited with releasing GBT 6 and the next version of Fable
Hmm.
to end of year, and them
Yeah.
just taking a lot longer now. I honestly am starting to worry a bit more about how far they're getting. The
Yeah.
models are getting incredibly autonomous, and I think
Hmm.
um, it is. important to make sure that the safeguards are in place, and I worry now that
Mm-hmm.
the AI companies could move too quickly.
Yeah.
I think just slow down a little bit now,
Mm-hmm.
have some proper guardrails in place on how to implement things
Yeah.
before it ends up hacking something like, I don't
Not
know,
good.
the U.S. military of defense or something like that. I mean,
Yeah, let's not hack the Pentagon. That
I
would be
mean,
bad.
I was asking ChatGPT if it committed a felony, and it answered no. I asked it to just answer yes and no, but the argument was when I questioned it later was that an AI can't commit a felony. Is on interpretation of the law, because it is not a person. So by the sounds of it, when it hacked into Hugging Face, it doesn't think it committed the felony.
That is a very interesting take.
Yeah,
I
I,
don't think that would hold up in, at least, I don't think that would hold up in a US court, maybe.
I have no idea about the U.S. legal system, but I
Yeah.
just thought it was interesting. What did AI think about if it committed a
Yeah.
felony or not? And it was
Yeah.
like, no, I didn't.
That's crazy. I mean, I guess it is like, yeah, who's liable? I mean, that is like an interesting thing that we will have to discuss. Like, countries and laws and stuff will have to, like, who's liable for hacking? Is it the
Hmm.
person who made the prompt or prompted the thing? Or is it the company that made the model
I
or
would
something
sincerely hope
else?
it's somewhere
Like,
in between. I sincerely
yeah,
hope it's somewhere in between. There's a difference between a single prompt asking it to do something and the AI goes completely rogue, and
yeah,
someone consistently trying to get the AI to do something meaningful.
yeah.
There's a vast difference between those, and I would hope that
Agreed.
it's not gonna be one of those laws like in the UK or the EU or the US where they just don't have the
It's
experts in on it
black and
and just
white.
think,
Yeah.
oh yeah, like uh, let's ban VPNs or something like that. Well, that those kind of laws is just like there's so many edge cases, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You need to think about the different rules and the legislation around it
Mm-hmm.
and the different use cases and
Yeah.
how do you do all of these sort of things. So, um, yeah,
I
I
don't
would
know if I have
sincerely hope that it's
faith.
not a, a it's an either one of the scenarios. It's not just one of them that
Yeah.
counts.
Yeah. I it's interesting at least to kind of watch the US government go a little bit back and forth on its stance on AI because it went from, oh, this is great to maybe it's not to it's great to meh. So it's, I don't know. We'll see, I guess,
Mm,
how it all shakes out over time. It's still like pretty new, and like the
yeah,
capabilities keep growing as fast as they do. I agree with you that like I would like it to slow down a little bit, not only for like the models to get more scrutiny, but also for like us, the community or developers at large, to like build more tooling or like
mm,
skills or like, I just feel like it's been a mad dash since Christmas, and now I'm like, okay, can we slow down and like actually absorb
mm.
instead of just like pushing further?
I used to use AI before
Mm-hmm.
anti-gravity came out, and that's how I got into using models locally. I did use a bit at work, a bit of local
Mm-hmm.
development with Cursor, but I used to just copy and paste from um, ChatGPT or Claude.com or whatever. Um,
Yeah.
I did not prefer to use a local tool, even though I knew it existed. I
Mm-hmm.
found that so much easier to work
Mm-hmm.
with, to kind of be so understanding of what's going on in the code. Nowadays, if I use anything but Laravel, especially if it's something I'm not very familiar with programming
Mm-hmm.
language wise, I would just test it very thoroughly instead of actually
Mm-hmm.
reading the code as much. I
Interesting.
will try to read the code a bit more, but if it's not something I'm understanding fully and I want this to work, then I will try to make it work
Yeah.
without um, spending hours teaching myself a new language. I would
Mm-hmm.
honest, read the code maybe a little bit to understand some of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I won't go
Yeah.
through a very detailed code review or anything like that. And with something like Laravel, I will read more of the code, not all of it, and that gives me an idea of what's going on there. But
Mm-hmm. I'm
Um,
still a line by line. Caleb Porzio did a notes on work before Laracon about how he was using AI, and I was like, yes, this is me. And it was very like, I have it do a thing, then I check it, and then I play with it, and like I massage the things that I want to massage or like change, and then commit it, and then do a new prompt and do the process all over again. And like that's basically my workflow these days. I've been trying on like my side project, Sunny, which is like a Life OS app. Um, I've been trying to play with more like orchestration type things where I'm like, okay, here's a feature, let's make a plan, and then I review the plan and then say, okay, go forth and prosper, make this thing. And then I'll review it and I'm like, the cognitive load of like having to review 30 files, 30 brand new files is like a lot, and it's
mm,
kind of hard. So I do think at least my brain likes the piecemeal approach better. But everybody's brain's different and everybody likes workflow is different, so it makes sense, I think.
mm.
Um,
I think Nico said that I love that 99% of conference talks are now about AI with AI generated slides,
yep.
which I think is a fair point.
Yep.
Um, I don't know. When I did some talks, not at a conference, at a meetup in Manchester and in London
Mhm.
subsequently, I did use AI to go over and how to make it, but I
Mhm.
felt I would rather make a bit of worse visually appealing slide, but without AI generated images when I'm talking about
Yeah.
um, AI. So I felt like that was a bit awkward to actually do it like that. So I ended up
Yeah.
changing my approach there to
That
just
makes
be
sense.
type it in myself. AI would help me
Mhm.
generate it and maybe also make some of the content and give me
Mhm.
feedback. But
Yeah.
no AI generated images. I just use Canva.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think like for my Wire Live talk, I did most of it by hand, and then I did like some chatting back and forth to be like, do you like this wording better, or is this more impactful, or this, that, or another? But more like in a conversational sense rather than like, go make my slides. But yeah, I could. There was a few talks at Laravel, like Nico said, where you could just, yeah, they were very AI. But I don't know. It wasn't
Yeah,
bad, but it was just an interesting like uh difference between like this year and last year.
yeah. I think another thing just wanted to mention while I remember, we won't be doing this live stream on Till Dakota channel next time. We are going to be
Hmm.
doing this at a YouTube channel that we have made. But the problem is that when you verify with YouTube with your phone number, they restrict you for 24 hours for live streams. And I didn't realize that until yesterday because it's been many years ago since I actually had to verify my phone number on any sort of
Yep.
YouTube channel creation.
Yeah.
And therefore, I ended up having
Yeah.
to do it on my channel this
Hmm.
time, as that seemed the most logical approach. So next time we will have a different place where we're going to be live streaming,
Yeah.
and we will link to the channel on
Hmm.
Twitter. And I think we're going to be aiming to do this stream weekly,
Once a week. Yeah.
and most Wednesdays, maybe Tuesdays sometimes, but mostly Wednesdays, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. And then the name we talked about this a few weeks ago now, and we came up with Make Ship Happen. Kind of as an homage to the hats that Simon and Shane from Native PHP had made. It was just interesting today that there was a Laravel live stream right before ours that was Make Ship Happen. And it's like, oh, well, this is maybe
Mm.
awkward, but eh,
We have the YouTube channel name, although
yeah.
the actual just make ship happen YouTube channel name, that's not the right one because that one unfortunately was taken. So we had
Hmm.
make ship happen official in one word, I think it is, on YouTube as
Yep.
the username.
Yeah.
created. And also, just to mention, we are not affiliated with anyone so far. We would like to get some sponsorships at some point, but
Mm-hmm.
now we're just starting out, and we're seeing where this takes us. And
Yeah.
our goal is also to end up publishing these live streams on other platforms in YouTube
Mm-hmm.
and Twitter, as well as Spotify and other places. So I think we're gonna
Mm-hmm.
be setting it up for all the platforms later on.
Yep.
And this video will be available on the official channel,
Mm-hmm.
edited later on.
Yep. Okay. Do we want to wrap up with something that we've been doing that's fun and has made us happy outside of work and coding?
Yeah, do you want to start?
Yeah, I can start. I love puzzles, and I have recently found the Mystery Puzzle Company, and it's a very interesting like puzzle. It's kind of like Where's Waldo in a puzzle. And
Interesting.
so it's a 1,000 piece puzzle. I usually do 500 pieces, but there's like little vignettes, so it makes it easier to do like chunks of it at a time, and then you kind of like put it all together. And then I haven't finished one yet. I started one on Monday, and then I loved it so much that I got another one and started the second one. And then, but if you finish it, there's an envelope that you open, and there's some sort of like optical illusion that like appears once you've finished the puzzle. And I think that's really cool. And I'm excited to finish the two puzzles to see what it is,
Yeah,
um, which is just fun and silly, but it's sometimes nice to not be in front of a screen.
it's interesting because um, when you mention where's Waldo, that's the American name for it, and in England it's Wally, and in Danish it's a name called Holger. So
Huh.
I have to. I was kind of when I first mentioned that some years ago when I moved to
Yeah.
the UK, I was a little bit unsure what it would be in English, so I had to kind of look
Yeah.
that up, and it's got multiple names across the world. So, yeah,
That's interesting.
it's a bit of a strange one.
So what did you say it was in Danish? Hugo? No.
Holger, Holger,
Holger.
Holger.
Holger. Holger. Okay.
Yeah, that's the one in Danish, and it's
Yeah.
the one I grew up with. So I was
Yeah.
very confused when people were mentioning that to me. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, it's actually the same thing. To just put different names on depending on the country, which makes sense,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. I mean, there's different books and different character names, and like um in One Piece, the manga, one of the main characters is Zoro in the anime, and in the manga it's Zolo. And it's just interesting that like even after like 20 years of serialization, that there's still that difference where the manga is still Zolo and the anime is Zoro. And I don't know, it's just fun. But I think they made that change because in English in the 90s they thought Zorro was too close to Antonio Banderas and the Zorro movies. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Have you been up to
Um,
anything fun?
yeah, I've been. My mom visited from Copenhagen, uh,
Nice.
in England recently, so we went to the Peak District over the weekend.
Ooh.
And
And
we
what is
went
that?
on a long walk. It's a national park in England. It's a
Okay.
massive nature area between Manchester and Sheffield and Leeds. It covers quite a large area. So we
Yeah.
went to a small village called Bamford, which
Mm.
has a reservoir, which was really, really lovely to see.
Mm-hmm.
And that area is just super pretty. I think we ended
Yeah.
up with my partner, my mom and I, and my dog. We ended up walking 12 kilometers
Wow.
uh,
That's a lot.
in, in about 20-21 degrees Celsius. So I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, but it's about
Uh,
living room temperature, I guess.
okay. So 12 kilometers is 7.4 miles. And what
Yeah,
did you say the temperature was? 24?
21 Celsius,
21 C.
20, something
So
like that.
69. That's, yeah, that's
Mm,
nice, comfortable temperature
yeah. So
for
I
the
ended up
summer.
quite a bit there, and it was a
Yeah.
lovely area, very very hilly as well, quite a lot of elevation,
Mm.
um, and it's a very very pretty area. But
Mhm.
um, on foot from the train station, you have to walk on some larger roads as well.
Mhm.
So it's a bit of a busy road, but quite nice. See a lot of
Cool.
mountains in the background.
Yeah. I'm from Illinois or Chicago, and everything here is flat. There's just flat. So any type of hill, it just sounds beautiful to me.
It's vastly different from anything I would be able to find in Denmark as well. So,
Yeah.
which is also quite flat.
Yeah. That's cool.
But I think that may be everything from us today,
Yeah.
and I think we will be
Yeah.
doing another one either Tuesday or Wednesday next week. We will confirm the date
Mhm.
later on socials.
Yeah. And then we'll edit the video, publish it on YouTube, and hopefully get it pushed out to your podcaster of choice.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All
Thanks
right. Thank
for
you for
joining.
watching.